Well, hello again. I'm your host and narrator, Monty, reading from Tuppy Diggers. Joining me today, of course, is the ever effervescent and talented Miss Sharon. Say hello, young lady.
Hello, everybody.
Very good. And we have the last chapter in Tuppy Diggers, chapter 15, entitled Drive. Let's get right to it.
I love that.
That's not funny.
It is so.
Okay, it's a little funny. No being silly, unless you want to. Chapter 15 is entitled Drive. Outside every town or city in North America sat an institution. Land on the edges of populated centers was less valuable and more conducive to establishing these places of delight, where people gathered and worshipped icons. Children could run and scamper, yet rarely did. A place where food of strange dimensions and texture could be had. Various activities of an amorous nature could be engaged in. Entire families congregated on these vast tracts of land and stared in unison at the horizon in hopes of inspiration. People gathered at dusk, waited patiently in ordered rows of cars for the first flickered images. Dancing hot dog appeared on the screen of the drive-in. The drive-in. Some, especially Americans, as they seem to be versed in redundancy, i.e., soda pop, tuna fish, like to call it the drive-in movie theater. For everyone else, it was simply the drive-in. Huge white screen planted in the ground towered over acres of land on which it sat. Standing as tall and as broad as a barn, this wall sat forlornly as a slab of white concrete or wood during the day. Cool and alone, strange sight in the light of an afternoon. No, its purpose was strictly nocturnal. It needed the cover of darkness to spring to life. This is when it shone. Light from the massive wall reflected at hundreds of vehicles fanned out in beautiful rows, each parked next to their private post that held a tiny speaker. Little metal box that contained the scratchy mono speaker was hung inside a front window, and every vehicle filled with sound that in no way matched the grandeur of the gigantic imagery playing out in front of them. John Wayne's voice boomed into your Buick with the ferocity of Mickey Mouse. Kids in the back seat yell for volume. After tweaking the knob to the max, it was clear our only option was to listen intently if we wanted to know what Lee Marvin threatened under his breath. All eyes focused out the windshield to the huge panorama of action unfolding before our amazed gazes. There were usually play areas for kids who needed to be kicked out of cars. Swings, teeter-totters, and monkey bars absorbed excess energy of youngsters while vehicles filled parking spots and took their positions before the start. Being of sound parents that were prepared for any situation, my three brothers and I were clad in pajamas, ready for domestic re-entry in the wee hours. This precluded our rambling about. Smart. To warm the audience and encourage commerce, the screen was ablaze with the first images as the sun made its last hurrah. Celluloid loop with signs of wear made its way through the projector for the umpteenth time. Singing and dancing, animated foodstuffs scratched and skipped across the screen in all their cartoon glory. Not a virtuoso production by any standard, still, their effect was the same. Clear liquid gathered in our mouths. Thoughts concentrated on hot dogs and hamburgers. Patrons walking by with boxes of fries and burgers only made it worse. Exhortations were made. Response always the same. You just ate supper 2 hours ago. You're not getting any of that crap. Mum had spoken. Concession advertising loop ended, as did our fantasies of forbidden fruit and food. Show must go on. Didn't matter how engaging the on-screen antics, none of our young bodies could see them through to the end. Dad carted PJ-clad sacks of potatoes from the caverner's back seat of the 1953 Buick to the comfort of the orange and white house at the end of each drive-in outing. Don't know how many times we made it to the drive-in that summer of 1964, maybe half a dozen. As time and circumstance performed their magic, next occasion, a dozen years later, was at the wheel of my own vehicle. Teenagers, cars, and drive-ins, a winning combination. At 16, all of us had our own vehicles or ones borrowed from parents. Friday or Saturday night drive-in, a kid with a car and a few dollars from a part-time job burning a hole in his pocket was the ideal way of parting one from the other. Some drive-ins charged by the vehicle. That was rare. Norm was charging admission based on the number of people in the vehicle. Being frugal teens read cheap buggers, the trunk proved a favorite medium to transport the majority. With 3 or 4 fun-loving teens locked in the trunk of a large American sedan, it sagged noticeably. Lineup of cars slowly proceeding to the ticket booth was inevitably joined by such a vehicle driven by a solitary teenage male. Okay, shut up, we're getting close. Driver's announcement was met by giggling teens in the trunk, stifled snorts and chortles for the few critical mimics it took to cross to freedom was to be expected. One, please, dubious-looking teen says to the ticket dispenser. Taker of money was usually a minimum-wage teen, oblivious to and or didn't care that a strange thumping noise came from your trunk as you nervously flinch while receiving change. Enjoy the show. When parked, exit from trunk was performed with the utmost of stealth. Driver cracks trunk open with key, slowly returns to car, pretends to fuss with speaker. First occupant holds trunk down so it doesn't spring up and illuminate ne'er-do-wells in the glow of a sickly incandescent bulb. Through the slightly open trunk, when the coast was clear, he'd roll out and onto the ground while next saboteur controlled the trunk lid. Crawling to the side door, bid for freedom secured. When all were safely aboard and no authority was the wiser, it was time to storm the concession. What the gate lost in general admission, the snack shack more than amply made up. Hot dogs, hamburgers, fries, and pop, round one went down in record time. Stealth burns calories. We made up for deprived youth, stuffed our faces with all manner of processed food, and went back for more at intermission. Being an honest-to-God projector that shone a focused beam of light through film of celluloid meant the projectionist, hidden in the booth above the concession, had to put a new reel of film on the machine at least once in a 2-hour movie, which meant dancing hot dog reel and a round of fudgicles or revels. Debate as to the merits of both frozen snacks on a stick took on a spirited zeal as the chocolatey goodness of the fudgicle was countered against the cool vanilla and crispy chocolate-coated goodness of a revel. As to the creamsicle, that was for those hoity-toity uptown folks. Case closed. Beauty of the drive-in lay in its value for entertainment dollar. Never on the A-list for first-run movies, this was the venue of glories past. You saw last year's Academy Award-winning performance or a bevy of second-rate horror flicks that featured monsters made of papier-mâché and actors that delivered stilted lines with a certain lack of gusto that seemed par for the course. Dusk to dawn occasionally emblazoned the marquee, and you just had to be there. Not one flick like a downtown theater. No, the drive-in gave and gave. Just as it said, movies till the break of day. Value. In northern latitudes, the season of outdoor flicks was crammed into 6 months of non-snowy weather. Odd time inclement weather dampened the proceedings. Spectacle of lightning added a surrealist appeal as thunder or rain threatened to drown the anemic offerings from the gray box that hung in your window and pretended to spit out a soundtrack. Vehicles could be started at any time. Heating or cooling controls blasted comfort to occupants. Indeed, you were free to leave at any time. Only rule of etiquette was boldly painted on the fence, admonishing drivers not to use their headlights when leaving. Thank you very much. This was a place we goofed off and let our comments about the world around us have free expression. All topics were up for discussion. Movie played second fiddle. Smacks to the back of the head were regularly dished to the occupants in the front seat if a point of debate were to be emphasized. Budgical versus rebel. While those in the rear would suffer the pang of a well-thrown cherry nim. Damn, that was my eye. Great source of banter were the relative merits and salient points of the female population that frequented our existence, specifically gals of our age. Endless discussions were proffered on the physical assets of young ladies from our social circle. Their mental abilities? Not so much. We were growing boys, and nature showed up all too often. Goading one another to do something about it was a constant. Combine that with an overwhelming inner chemical drive meant something had to be done. Don't care what you say, for my money, Brenda J. has the best set of jugs I think I've ever seen.
Oh my gosh.
Expressed my feeling to fellow lunkheads with a certain loftiness of voice. Yeah, well, nothing will ever come of your infatuation if you never do anything about it, you stupid dork. Yeah, well, maybe I will. Yeah, right. I'll ask her out on Wednesday. I'll believe it when I see it. You'll see it Wednesday night. Right. Dork. You're a dork. One smack to the back of the head, two nibs took flight. Approached my intended prey with caution. Not knowing what to expect filled me with unease. Around boys, I was Mr. Suave, never lacked for a quick quip or the proper amount of shoulder punching to accent a point. Growing up with older brothers was a cinch. Formative years were spent with fun-loving males that went to great lengths in the pursuit of adventurous diversion. Sight of an influential female usually took the form of mother, mom, ready to hit and berate you for sins both real or imagined, either in the past, present, or future. Any occasion or situation was a great time to whack a kid.
Whack a kid.
Indeed. Breakfast, dinner, or supper, you always kept vigilant, as the dinner table provided an ideal place to be hit and served as an example to others. Hand, wooden spoon, huge fondant paddle, anything that could be wielded as a weapon was plied into service. I was a little twitchy around girls. They could go off with little warning. Yet the force within me was strong. Put on a brave face and summoned the courage to ask Brenda J. if she'd like to go out sometime. Shocked when she said yes.
Oh, that's great.
Wasn't quite prepared for this turn of events, and visibly fumbled to coolly come back with a reply when she suggested the drive-in on Saturday. A grand notion. Brenda added, would it be fine if my friend and her boyfriend came along? That would be tickety-boo. Yes, I said tickety-boo. God. 3 days until Saturday. I was a bag of nerves. What have I done? I've never been to a drive-in with a girl. Do I open my car door for her when I pick her up? Do I close the door? Do I coolly sit in the driver's seat wearing sunglasses and just lean on the horn to signal my arrival? Open your own damn door, woman. I'm in charge around here. Do I greet her with a handshake or sophisticated peck on the cheek? Who pays at the ticket wicket? She suggested the drive-in. Do we split the cost? And what about her friends? Do I play the big shot and insist on paying their way? Would any or all of them be amenable to hiding in the trunk? My mind was a raging mess. Practicing pithy lines in front of my reflected image goofy teen with glasses and a silver-capped incisor, didn't endear me to me. Thursday. Friday. Is it too late to call in sick? An illness of unspecified duration, symptoms severe enough to warrant sympathy, but not overly burdensome to disfigure, causing me to affect a limp anytime I am within Brenda's or her associates' fields of vision. What about snacks? How would I handle her choice between fudgicle or revel? Could she be swayed in her decision-making process? Or would she be adamant and emphatic by punctuating her selection with a crisp slap to my face while stating, fudgicle? How dare you? Did I deserve any of this? Our first fight played out in my mind. Do we kiss and make up like it never happened? Or will this forever be dragged up and thrown in my face as the greatest faux pas, to be used as leverage and a bargaining chip in order to have me do things that would be anathema to my very being? Things so vile it would make our children's hair stand on end? That's right, I said children, as in plural. I grab a shock of Brenda's hair, pull her head back, lips slightly parted. Briskly, I press my face to hers, a kiss of passion calms her flailing arms into a warm embrace. The name is Bond, Monty Bond. Saturday morning, I could have an accident. My appointed physical therapist would deliver the bad news. I'm afraid Monty Bond was in a terrible, towering inferno and has contracted leprosy as a result. He has been flown to Bora Bora. His eye patch shouldn't interfere with his volunteer work of dispensing marbles to the equally afflicted. He may be back next week, with or without the eye patch. Hard to say, these things are so unpredictable. Please try to get on with your life. A Christmas card with further details will be remitted via post. And now I must sign off. Thank you. Pulled into Brenda J's driveway at the appointed time. All three climbed into my four-door 1964 Chevrolet before I barely had the transmission in park. Introductions all around. No hugs, handshakes, or cheek kissing. That was easy. Brenda in front with me, two friends in back, on the road. Line up for the drive-in. Suggested they hide in the trunk as money saved could go for survival rations from the canteen. Might have gone for it had I been able to guarantee no clothes would be soiled in the process. Ice broken. With my car in position and the crackly speaker ready to do its subpar performance, we settled into pre-movie small talk. Mostly school chat that was unfamiliar to me, as these three practical strangers went to a different high school. Movie started. Brenda moved closer to me on the big bench seat, shoulders practically touching.
Wow.
What was I to do? Put my arm around her? Is that what happens on a first date? Is this more important than hand-holding? If I put my arm around her, would she take this as an overt sign of aggression from a charlatan hell-bent on her deflowering? Would she punch me in the ribs, causing a brief explosion of malodorous butt gas, as I had been caught unawares with no time to prepare my midriff's muscles? Who could I blame for the contained aroma as I coyly unroll my window and pretend to shoo a non-existent fly? Instead, I just sat there pretending to be caught up in the movie. Brain went a mile a minute. All I could think about was the girl next to me, and if she noticed me sneaking looks at her abundant boobage from the corner of my eye. Could Brenda smell my breath? Tried adjudicating my halitosis with a cupped hand days before to see if it worked. Inconclusive. More you try, the less you know. One really needs the services of a professional, impartial technician that could stand in front of you, take the full cloud of a belch's afterblow and submit their written report for your perusal. Its quantifiable freshness scale of 1 through 10 would offer valuable insights. Recommendations in the proper section would point towards solutions, i.e., 2 more bales of parsley. Intermission broke my trance. Small talk bandied about as bunned wieners danced on the screen. Anyone game for a fudgicle? All said yes. I was off for the frozen delights. Movie was starting, positioned myself behind the wheel, and passed out the goods. Like wearing a cowboy hat, a lot can be told about a person by the way they approach consuming a fudgicle. Number of techniques, combinations, and permutations are endless. Interpretations of said have led to numerous debates. There's the nibbler. Rabbit-like in his or her modus operandi, small bites are taken one at a time and worked with a rapid rate of mastication while the fudgicle is held close to the mouth, in severe cases using both hands. Blinking while chewing is rarely engaged in, as the nibbler is focused on the task at hand or hands. Ditto talking. This person is fastidious by nature and does a thorough job of keeping his or her living space neat and tidy. They do not seek confrontation, yet, when cornered and no other option is viable, the nibbler can lash out with ferocity that belies their initially frail facade. Upon closer examination, the nibbler will be seen to wiggle his or her nose in a brisk, appreciative fashion. This is rarely seen, as the viewer is often distracted by other mannerisms like the meticulous post-consumption folding of the fudgicle's wrapper and precise snapping of the stick into equal lengths to match said wrapper's dimension. Nibbler will hold on to his or her package without disrupting its orientation for however long it takes in order to dispose of it in the right receptacle. Nibblers enjoy the company of others, but are not the life of the party. He or she likes things to go smoothly and will rise to the position of pacifier should the situation merit. Tender and loyal, the nibbler is a friend for life. The biter. This person attacks the quickly peeled fudgicle with a certain relish. Bites are taken with speed and confidence. The biter can finish a fudgicle in seconds, then look longingly at others who might still be in the unwrapping phase. If a biter doesn't proclaim brain freeze at some point, he or she is in possession of the rare Y23 chromosome. Feats of superhuman endeavor come easily to this person, i.e., guzzling a 26-ounce bottle of Coca-Cola in a single bound, followed by burping the entire alphabet. The biter will gleefully finish an entire box of fudgicles in the time it takes a nibbler to wiggle his/her nose through half a single. Tact and diplomacy are not characteristics you normally associate with a biter, as they clomp and stomp their way through life's daily grind. They do this with a blissful countenance, joyously ignorant of the destruction in their wake. If you want a job done, and you care not about the means, then a biter is your hire, as he or she will kick doors down and take no prisoners as they clang and bang toward their objective. The biter is capable of great emotional passion, but beware, can turn on a dime at the drop of a hat and change that passion to rage. The waver. A rare treat. It's not often you encounter a waver. With fudgicle in hand, the waver can hold court, akin to putting a baton in a maestro's capable grasp. The frozen treat becomes a tool of attention and screams, "Look at me!" As the fudgicle is waved about, this person uses their implement to stress a point of conjecture that has been cooped inside, waiting for some means to help them bring it to the surface for all to enjoy. The waver will use many banal phrases to make a point. They will practically shout, "Oh my God!" I can't believe my ears. That was awesome. It is what it is. All the while waving their fudgicle like it's on fire and they're putting it out. Actually eating the fudgicle is a superfluous act as they reluctantly take bites and quickly work the morsel past teeth and gums as this runs interference with their monologue. They know the limelight may be brief as their audience is intent on consuming their own slab on a stick. The waver does not savor. This is reflected in their daily dealings as they go about the minutiae of life with one overwhelming concern. How did that make me look? Keep a waver around if you never want dead spots in the conversation. Bear in mind, none of the ceaseless chatter will carry any weight. It will just be there, like wallpaper. Fickle is the nature of this beast, and he or she will float to the most receptive crowd that will take to a body using the fudgicle as a pointer. The liquor. Similar to the nibbler in many ways, yet different enough to merit their own category. The liquor is known for his or her thorough and steady technique. No person, no thing, and no distraction of any sort will prevent them from extracting every nuance of flavor and enjoyment from their beloved fudgesicle. From the first moment it is in their hands till the very last, nothing else exists as the frozen bit of fun is worked with a slow tongue. For seconds at a time, eyes are closed and conversation is for others. Do not try to engage the liquor, as he or she will not respond. Let them be. They'll let you know when the time is right. Tongue is the weapon of choice. Teeth are for savages. Lickers have been witnessed trying to bore a hole in the fudgicle with the tip of their tool, usually to no avail, as the time involved builds drips of corner liquid that must be dealt with. The liquor has been known to splay the entire tongue from mouth, while the sickle is dragged on the protruding member. The liquor entertains deeper notions. He or she is the type that will lay on the hood of a car on a warm summer's night and gaze into the starry abyss and pose the questions that have made the great thinkers of this earthly orb contemplate. Liquors run deep. He, she is a great friend. They'll pull no punches. If there is a flaw to your character, the liquor will find it, and you'll embark on a journey of self-discovery that will take you to corners you may not have otherwise discovered in this rich tapestry we call life. A liquor will be with you till the end. The sucker. Fudgicle is sucked, plain and simple. Initial entry to the mouth is tentative, as a testing of water with a toe. Is it frozen solid? Hard as a brick? Risk of lips sticking to the gelato block? These are the questions the moistened mouth of the sucker are probing for. Consistency of temperature and texture are the ultimate goal of the sucker. Arriving there is all the fun. Working the fudgicle into the warm pie hole is exploratory. Teeth are only used if a thin layer of ice is detected. Should this be the case, teeth are used in a light staccato fashion to act as icebreakers while the sickle is slowly pulled outward. At this phase of the operation, visual inspection of the broken shards is mandatory. Teeth are now put on the back burner. Instrument of overall effect is the mouth, and nothing but the mouth, so help you God. With each entry to the gob, frigid fudge goes deeper, and more of it is left inside to be rolled and savored before swallowed. At a certain point, warming factor of the sucker's pie hole will allow the fudgicle to bend. This is where the sucker has wanted to be from the start. The fact the entire treat can be concealed down to the stick fills the sucker with a certain satisfaction that comes from deep within. At this juncture, the choice to lightly drag her incisors while extraction is performed is made, providing the delicious delight is visually examined to note the striated effect of one's teeth. Some adhere almost religiously to the no tooth dragging edict, while others toy with their dessert. The sucker is no fool and knows precisely what he or she wants. Gregarious and fun loving, the sucker enjoys life and spreads a certain joie de vivre wherever she may be. You would do yourself a great service to count amongst your coterie of friends a number of suckers. Volumes have been written on the subject of one's methodology vis-a-vis the approach, consumption, and postprandial deposition of detritus with regards to the fudgicle. Indeed, vast tomes of reference can be accessed at major universities and national literary archives. A life's work in understanding the nuances and combinations of techniques while consuming a fudgicle can be launched into. Research will never end. Vast is the field. And we haven't even looked at the revel and its circle of influence, known in scholarly halls as the art and science of revelology. The lowly creamsicle and its study has been relegated to the collegiate level, where it enjoys a certain cachet. Sitting next to me, basking in the soft, reflective glow of the silver screen in the form of Brenda J., was a bona fide sucker. From the corner of my eye, I stole glances of her going through the classic, time-honored steps any natural-born sucker unconsciously mimics. Working the fudgicle to a softened mass, Brenda rhythmically licked accumulated corner drops from their position, then returned to the body of frozen fudge only to gently tear a piece of the tip off while holding it between tongue and front teeth, all the while keeping her eyes locked on the unfolding drama as her ears opened to the skinny sound squeaking from the tinny speaker. A most sublime rendition of the triple combo factor. Watched her as eye muscles went on strike for better working conditions, while visions of her abundant boobs danced in my head. Am I to kiss the sweet residue from her full and moistened lips? Do I caress her face while looking into her eyes and breathe her fudgy breath? Would my loving gestures be met with a poke to one of my muscle-strained eyes with the business end of her still cool fudgicle stick? Wanted to be Mr. Suave and debonair, but was paralyzed by my self-imposed burden of shyness. All I could do was return my stare to the screen and listen to the drama of some Hollywood offering while fantasizing of what could be. Hours later, I delivered Brenda and her party home. They bounded from my car as fast as they entered it hours before. Not having a chance to exchange any more pleasantries, drove off and reflected on the evening's events. Paralytic shyness of females would have to work on that, definitely. Time stands still for no man nor drive-in. As the 1970s gave way to the 80s and 90s, populations of towns, large and small, grew with baby boomers' progeny. A flush of immigrants from all parts joined them. Greater demand was put on land, driving its value ever upwards. Acres that were on the outskirts of towns and cities in the 1950s were swallowed by developments of all types. Rec centers, shopping malls, apartment blocks, and retirement condos all showed better returns on investment than a drive-in. Advent of more in-house entertainment and smaller cars meant drive-ins across North America found they were on the losing end of a multi-front battle, dropped like flies. In the 21st century, communities that can boast of a drive-in are rare. Most throughout North America have become nothing but memories. City of Vancouver, British Columbia, saw their drive-in disappear in 2005. At its swan song, a group of us with 1950s vintage vehicles helped fill the place. Cool summer night with row upon row of gleaming old iron. All in attendance had grown up with drive-in culture. Bittersweet tribute to a simpler time. My 1952 Austin A40 panel van was a lovely addition to the rows of cool rides, as was my girlfriend Patty. Tinny speaker was no longer hooked to the window. Tuned your vehicle's radio to the drive-in's broadcast frequency. Progress. Patty and I reflected on our drive-in experiences. Discussion turned to amorous adventures. Seems we both sorely lacked in that department. We did the right thing. Bounced and screamed and carried on in the back of the van in order that a good radius of attendees were apprised of why the van was a rockin'.
Oh my goodness.
Patty, a natural-born sucker with a skosh of nibbler, I, a biter with overtones of liquor, paid a fitting farewell to the drive-in. Years of chipping away at my shyness of girls had me imbued with a certain confidence. Yet all I could think about in that van were Brenda Jay's sweet sugar plums and fudgicles.